Before we start, if you guys enjoy spooky stories about rules, horror, or time travel for the time being, be sure to drop a subscribe if you enjoy this content. Let's get into the story. My family has had the same rule since I was only a little girl. And that rule was always to move left, then right. Sounds unusual to outsiders, but my 6 siblings and I have grown up to it being the norm. Whether it's taking steps left, then right, or simply organizing my wardrobe from left to right. Whatever it was, my mother and father could never stress enough how important this rule was. There were men dressed in white shirts and green baseball caps wherever we went, even in the rooms of our house. They would watch us from the windows when we would play in the backyard, or when we were eating family dinner, they would stand in the doorways and watch us eat our meals from left of our plates to the right. These men never fazed me growing up with their plastic and shining faces. Where their mouths should be, it was smooth plastic. Their face was nothing but a pair of eyes that impossibly never blinked. I don't know if anyone else could see them, but we never spoke a word about them. My oldest brother, Otis, asked once, but Mum brushed it off and asked what we wanted for dinner. I guess we just thought it was something unspoken in the household. Plus, we trusted our parents and obeyed any rules they gave. Anyway, it was pretty normal, and for years, just became another daily rule to live by. Left, then right. But this morning, it became pretty damn clear to my family how important this rule was. We were out in the backyard playing one of our childish games. There was a man in the upstairs window watching down on us. Nothing unusual. We were skipping around in circles and singing nursery rhymes. The morning was fairly dark and cloudy. It gave off an eerie glow of gray penetrating through the trees surrounding the backyard. The light bounced off the house, and everything looked like a black and white film. One more round before school. Dad held my hand with his left, then reached for Mila's hand in his right. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. We skipped in a circle, smiles imprinted on all our faces. We all tumbled over and laughed in high-pitched yells. Last one inside is a rotten egg, Mila shouted before skipping towards the house, left foot first. Dad linked his arm in mine, and we skipped towards the house. I watched both our feet. I always found it amusing, watching us take the same steps, left, right, right. But today, his steps didn't match mine. That was impossible, I thought. He must have stepped with his right foot first. Was he tricking me? I found it quite amusing. A stitch forming in my abdomen from laughing. Jen, what's so funny? My dad asked. I had to take a deep breath from all the laughter. Dad, you stepped right first, you silly goose. I'm telling Mom, you're in trouble. I fell into another fit of laughter, and my siblings joined in. We all found it quite amusing, especially because of how strict my parents were on this rule. But Dad wasn't laughing. An expression of pure terror was tattooed onto his face, like he was just told the worst news ever in the world. We all stopped laughing and told Dad that we could keep a secret. We won't tell Mom, don't worry, we promise. But if we keep this secret, can we have ice cream after dinner tonight? Yes, please, Dad, we won't tell. We all giggled at our plan to blackmail him into letting us have ice cream. But his expression continued to remain in that same horror-stricken way. He slowly turned his gaze up to the top-story window of the house. There was no longer a man staring at us. Slow and heavy steps came from the staircase inside. The sounds were robotic. The man from the window was now at the bottom of the steps. Another man appeared from the kitchen pantry, as well as one from the bushes outside. They all slowly stepped towards Dad, left, then right. Dad, what's happening? Are we in trouble? My siblings and I all feared for our lives in that moment. Then, the plastic man from the kitchen grabbed Dad's wrist with all his force. Dad shouted for all of us to run to our rooms. Don't come out until I tell you to. The plastic man from upstairs gripped Dad's mouth shut, and another used the brown sack to cover his body. All of us children were shouting, crying for them to stop. The men showed no emotions while dragging the brown sack out of the back door and into the yard. Dad's body was flailing about hopelessly, trying to escape from the sack. Before any of us could run upstairs, one of the men stopped. He stared the 7 of us children dead in the eyes. Then he clicked his fingers. Black. That's all I can remember from this morning. All any of us could remember from this morning. We all awoke sitting in a circle around the brown sack in the backyard. It seemed cult-like. It had to be around 6 to 7 in the afternoon by now, just in time for "Dinner's ready," Mom yelled out of the back door for us to come inside. We looked at each other questioning if anything that we saw this morning had actually happened, before almost in unison looking towards the house. I could hazily see the silhouette of Dad at the dinner table. Is that Dad? Maybe let him go. Do you think he's okay? We all had questions. How did we all end up out here? None of us remember anything since this morning. Once we all made it inside, we could see Dad seated at the dinner table, arms straight by his side. His mouth was covered with a bandage tightly wrapped around his head, and he had blood dripping down his neck. His forehead was shiny, almost like the plastic on the other men, but his eyes were shut. Maybe he was resting after this morning's incident? Make sure to wash your hands before dinner, children. Don't forget to wash them left to right, Mom said with a smile on her face. It's late now, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm huddled under the covers with Mila. Loud grunts continue echoing through the house from the kitchen. Dad is still sitting at the dinner table. We checked on him an hour ago. The grunts were almost distorted, like the sounds were being made from the inside of his body. Maybe he couldn't move his mouth because of the band-aid? I wanted to take the bandage off to hear what Dad had to say, but a part of me knew it wasn't just a bandage stopping him from speaking. I could hear all of my siblings in the room, silently whispering. None of us were going to get any sleep tonight. Especially not with the man standing in the doorway. He was keeping a closer eye on us than normal.